She's on mute.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to the International WEEE and Battery Recycling Conference, the only dedicated platform for this sector in the region. Over the next 3 hours, industry professionals from across the globe will share their experience, discuss and debate key issues, and latest trends across the scrap and battery recycling industry. Before we start the session, we'd like to take a moment to recognize the sponsors and supporting partners. We extend our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to our gold sponsors, Osei Japan, Madina Talnokwa Recycling Services, and Ulster Shredders. We also express our thanks to Exigo Recycling and eCyclex, the silver sponsors for the conference. Detailed information about all these companies is available on our event platform. And now I would like to invite Mr. Venkimurthy to deliver the opening address. He is the founder and CEO of PANS Chemistry, headquartered in Singapore. Mr. Murthy is a leading expert in the electronics recycling industry and has 25 years of experience in the establishment of e-scrap recycling technologies, process management, precious metals refining, pollution control policy support, and ISO standards. Mr. Murthy holds an MSc degree in industrial chemistry, MTech in process metallurgy, and an MBA in international marketing. He has set up more than 10 integrated policy projects globally, including USA, South Africa, Singapore, China, and many other countries. He is associated with various international organizations and serves on the board of directors at CERI, is a member of Technology and Innovation Committee Singapore, among others. Over to Mr. Murthy.
Thank you. That's a nice introduction. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And first of all, I would like to thank the platform, the Waste Recycling Middle East and Africa magazine. And I understand that there are a lot of dignitaries attending this conference. It is a very important, especially for the recycling companies, the equipment manufacturers, the technology providers, the government agencies, the traders, and so on. I hope this today's session will give you a different dimension of understanding the e-waste industry, especially the importance of regulatory framework, the technology, the international EPR, and so on. So I have a pleasure to speak few points today to have a session open. One is the growing significance of e-waste industry. What is the importance of the e-waste industry? Why we talk so much about e-waste industry? How much in terms of value, in terms of impact, and in terms of importance for our future generation to protect our planet? And second issue, what are the challenges we are facing in our industries? I mean, it's not that even though the e-waste has a value, but there are a lot of challenges in the country wise, internationally. And over the challenges, we do also have a opportunity, the business opportunities in our e-waste business. And finally, I also would like to touch a bit about regulatory framework, especially why the regulations are very important. It's always saying that, regulation is one thing, enforcement is the most important thing to make it successful e-waste recycling. And finally, I also would like to throw some thoughts how we can able to transform this industry to better off our planet, better off our future generation. So the significance of the e-waste industries, as you know, we depends too much on the technology, especially the post-COVID. Almost the day starts with the technological products, whether it's a mobile phones or iPads or laptops, desktop computers, and so on. Day ends with the electronic products. It means the technology is taking the front stage in every sectors, be it education, be it medical, be it uh, anything you take. Our life is full of technology. And technology has given so much comfort for the mankind, which never be in the history of this planet. But we never think what happens when these technological products ends its life. We never think. We use as long as these technological products giving so much of comfort, but we never think that what happens when it ends its life. That's where the problem really starts. That's where the business opportunity which we are going to discuss today. Forever, if you look at the planet today, we are talking about global warming, glacier ice melts, and different kinds of health related issues. scarcity of the resources, and landfill, the incineration, improper processing, informal dominance, and so on. Globally, we generate more than 58 million metric tons of electronic waste, which is an estimated value is more than 65 billion US dollars. Especially about 10 to 15% of the value has been increased since post-COVID, is again because of the commodity price of precious metals, the base metals, and the plastics, and so on. And again, I will not go in detail about which continents produce more, especially the emerging Asia is taking the major share in terms of volume of e-waste, which is mostly 25 million metric tons and above. So there's a real threat which we are creating. The man creating a threat to this environment. In the past, nature used to threaten the man, but today, man is threatening the nature by creating so much of problems, over exploitation of the natural resources, unnecessary usage of the triple E products. So we are coming to an situations whereby we are we are creating a scarcity of certain metals like copper, like gold, certain kind of other metals into our future generation. Apart from that, creating so much of problems to our health and safety aspects to the humankind. So what challenges we are facing? The main challenge is that awareness. We do not know why we need to recycle the electronic scraps or so-called electronic waste. We do not know e-waste is nothing but is a great value or a great resources if we do a recycle in environmental friendly way. If we do not recycle, it endangers to the environment as well as the ecosystems. So that is what the basic problem is, the awareness. The manufacturers do give very little knowledge about the product chemistry, and likewise the consumers do not aware of what importance of recycling, what values are behind the electronic waste, and what hazardous metals are behind the electronic waste. So the most important is that awareness has to be created. And the next thing is the legal framework. This is again a challenge. I always believe that, globally, all the electrical products chemistry is the same. You take example of mobile phone, whether it's made by the US or made by the Asian, the chemistry of the mobile phone is the same. Likewise, any products you take, laptops, refrigerators, the TVs, the desktop computers, air conditioners, dishwashers, anything is all made up of plastics and metals. And again, among the metals, various types of precious metals, in some cases, even rare earth elements, platinum group metals, and various types of plastics, non-ferrous metals like aluminum, copper, nickel, ferrous metals like iron and alloys of iron like various types of steels and so on. When the product chemistry is the same, and why we have a different regulations across the globe. So when the product chemistry is the same, the environmental impact should be the same. Suppose if you have a mercury or arsenic or a lead in any of these triple E products, the impacts to the environment, to the health is the same. But we have a confusion here because different country have a different regulations, different cities have a different regulations, different states and provinces have a different regulations. And most important, another point is the value. Now, be it a gold or be it a copper or be it a ferrous like steel or be it even a plastics, it's all based on the international pricing. Whether the plastics recovered in Americas or in Europe or in Asia, the value of all these metals will be the same irrespective of the currency and the boundary. So why then the confusion? I think the most important, we need to look at a planet as a common boundary for e-waste recycling, not specific to country and the cities. And second important challenge is the EPR, extended producer responsibility. See, every manufacturers have this today, the EPR, but just that whether it's been strictly implemented or not. Certain countries, yes, it is being strictly implemented and it is being followed very well, where the regulations are in right and enforcement are strong. But in certain countries, especially with respect to Asia, we see there are a lot of loopholes in the EPR implementation or even in the recycling. So there are regulations in place in most of the countries. I mean, globally today we are talking about 66 to 70% of the global countries are covered by the e-waste regulations. But again, the success is based on the implementation and enforcement, which is not happening. Why? We can see that mostly 83 to 85% of the e-waste in the hands of invisible informal sector. So the very important, we need to look at that how these transformations we can make it happen so that the electronic waste is going into the formal recycling sectors instead of holding back in the informal primitive conventional method of recycling, whereby impact to the environment, loss of resources, and again, more importantly, the health and safety, especially for the children as well as the women. So these are all the challenges we are facing. And again, on the other side of the coin is the opportunity. There's a big opportunity, business opportunity. If you take a life cycle of electronic waste, starts from the collections to the transportation to the salvage of the components, extending the life by repair and reuse, remarket, repurpose, whatever we call it as, at the end nothing is possible, then you can recycle and recover back the secondary feedstock or secondary raw material and put back to supply chain. So entire life cycle, there is a value chain is there, there's upcycling is happening. By doing that, we will be providing a lot of benefits to the environment. One is we can preserve the natural resources. Second important, millions of people health is under high risk, especially children in the developing countries like India, certain Southeast Asian countries, Brazil, Africa, and so on. So these things can be prevented by doing the right way of recycling. So this is there is a great opportunity by right way of recycling. Now let me talk how this circular economy influences. As we know, take, make, use, and throw is not sustainable to the global market today or to the planet. So the more we exploit, the more we are creating the problem to the environment as well as its natural resources. So take, make, use, and throw is not at all sustainable. So we need a very holistic approach to make sure, or we need a right active and meaningful partnership among all the stakeholders, especially the generators, the governmental agencies, the recyclers, and general consumers. So all has to come together under one umbrella to be as a shared responsibility to work under the circular economy. In the sense that, instead of take, make, use, and throw, we need to extend the life of these electronic scraps so that either by as a repair and reuse of the material and or recycle and reuse back the so-called the feedstock as a secondary raw material. And finally, before we go for a few thoughts, what all the regulations are important. As I mentioned already that, we have created a lot of confusions. Say every country, based on their priority, they set their own guidelines. Some countries, they look at hazardous metals under the low priority. The valuable metals are on the higher priority because of the improper or imbalanced regulations. This creating a lot of confusions. So what is most important? When the product chemistry is the same, the value is the same, the impact is the same, then there should be a common guideline across the globe, and there should be common enforcement and a common EPR across the globe, because the product chemistry is the same and the product value is the same and environmental impact is the same, because we share the same planet. Irrespective of the boundary, we share the same planet. So in my opinion, I think the most important is the regulations and enforcement. We need a standard procedures to manage the electronic waste. We need a standards to issue the licenses. We need a standards to define what kind of technology works for which kind of recovery and refining. Everybody claim today that pyrometallurgy is the best. Some people claim that hydrometallurgy is the best, but there are no international benchmark unlike any other industries. I think what is important is that we need to establish international global platform or the council to make sure we standardize the procedures, we standardize the definitions of the e-waste, we standardize the collection and transportation just like a batteries and any other hazardous material. So when these things commonly read across the globe, we could possibly see the total transformation of the electronic waste industries, and we could also see the benefits to the environment as well as protection of the natural resources. So finally, as a conclusion, I would like to throw a couple of points to you, all stakeholders who are attending this conference. What is, we need a holistic approach, in the sense the real actions on the ground instead of so-called the paper technology or the technology. Many things we have been spoken globally about e-waste management, but since last 10-15 years we see the success rates are only 15%. If you look at the greenhouse gases, the global warming, the plasticizing the ocean and whatnot, we have not made a significant difference in the environment, though we know there are a lot of toxic and a lot of values inside the electronic waste. So what we recommend, what I personally feel that we need a holistic approach. We need action, not just talks alone. So where we need action, we need to have a kind of e-waste council globally to address all the problems like whether it's a collections and transportation, whether it's a recycling, a resource management, whether it's a standards establishing, like we have the standards called auto standards for traceability, IP protection, accountability, and to make sure the e-waste is being recycled until the downstream vendors traceability and accountability. So we need a proper standards globally so that we can see a true transformation rather than confusing with the different countries regulations and so on. So finally, if you talk about informal sectors, for informal sectors it is a bread and butter, it is their living. So we cannot just like that take away their bread and butter or their life. So what we need to do is that we need to transform the informal sectors by giving a proper education, proper training, proper financial security, proper social security, and so on. So by transforming the informal sectors, they can act as a important players in doing the collection from the household, so-called the end-of-life consumer electronics, which is more cost-effective rather than so-called the formal recyclers driving their trucks to the individual house to collect one refrigerators or one printing machines and so on. So we need to do the transformation of the informal sectors. So finally, so another important point I would like to put forward here is that there should be a mandatory regulatory framework to use the recycled product to make the fresh triple E products. So right now there are a lot of companies already putting the efforts to use 10, 20, 30, 40% of the recycled plastics and so on. I think there should be mandatory regulations. 100% of the recycled product should be used to make the new product. If we see that kind of regulations as well as the enforcement, we can definitely able to see a new planet, a safe planet, environmental friendly planet, so that we can protect our natural resources by not exploiting any further, preserving our natural resources, not to go for landfill or incineration, instead recycle back and reuse back as a recycled product. So with that note, I would like to thank you and thank you so much.